And there is murder afoot, as ever. The Snowman by Jo Nesbø. It is a typical book. Today on Typical Books, we're going to be talking about The Snowman by Jo Nesbø. But first, I'm talking about two books today. So, a little something came in the mail just last night. Eleusinore, Element of Romance. It is a anthology of romance that I'm in, which is kind of cool. It's my first romance story. I don't know if it'll be my last, but mine is the third story in Model Hearts by Lydia Peever. It's typeset really nicely, and I do recommend checking out. You can go to nightface.ca. I'll put a link in the description so you can go and pick this up. It's on Amazon if you're a romance fan. It's not something that I'll usually cover on the show, but once I give this all a read through, because I've read through most of it when in proofing, but I will do a review, I guess, because it's, important Canadian fiction right here. Mostly Canadian, actually. So I'm excited to get into Eleusinore, Element of Romance. And then on to the main attraction. The Snowman by Jo Nesbø. It is a typical book. I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but I guess I'll find out. The snow in the yard reflected enough light for him to make out the snowmen down below. The pebble eyes were gleaming, and they were not staring into the house. They were looking up here, into the window. Nesbø explores the darkest criminal minds with grim delight and puts his killers where you least expect to find them. His novels are maddeningly addictive, and they are maddeningly addictive. I've really enjoyed devouring this and making time to read it. It's going to be a gift, so I'm pretty excited to see. My uncle is actually receiving this. I'm not sure if he's read it already, so we'll find out. If not, there is a gift card at the ready. So this has the film adaptation cover to it, which is kind of a pain, but whatever. It's got all the film information on the back. Penguin Random House has put this out in Canada for $21 whole, which I picked up at Chapters. The cover, of course, because it is a film adaptation, is quite boring, but it is made of a good weight paper. It's very soft paper, and it's a very enjoyable paperback to read on the commute, actually. It's comfortable to hold with one hand, which is really important. It's got good typesetting, too. From what I understand, this is part of a series. I'm not a series chaser. This came out in 2010, so I guess there's been some time since. Maybe there's other books. I'm no expert. All I know is that I was waiting for this one in particular because I do like snow and cold and find that chilling. I always say there's not enough winter horror, so maybe we'll take a tip from the crime, because there seems to be quite a bit of a winter crime to choose from. I really enjoyed his first book that I was aware of anyway, Headhunters, and I had picked that up as a swap because there was a bookshelf at the staircase of this old DVD rental, movie rental place called Invisible Cinema here in Ottawa, and they had a take one, leave one policy, and Headhunters was sitting there, and I had a copy of my book Nightface, so I just swapped it out, which was kind of cool. And it was surprisingly good. The film was okay too. I really enjoyed that. I liked his writing style, and I liked how he could create character weaknesses quite brilliantly, actually. And that book, Headhunters, is all about character weaknesses. So when The Snowman was being advertised, I was very excited to see what sort of weaknesses he would instill in a crime story. I was very excited for this, and I'm really late to the game, actually, considering my excitement when this novel was out in hardcover. So now I've picked up the paperback, but it's got the movie cover on it. The movie isn't getting really good reviews, and I don't know why. Maybe I'm paying attention to the wrong people. I shouldn't be paying attention at all, because I am very excited to see this. Crime set in the snow. I'm very happy about that. Considering it is a very, very cold day here in Canada, I figured this would be a perfect thing to talk about, considering people are making snowmen outside. Fiendishly complex and terrifyingly entertaining. It is, actually. I really enjoyed the twists and turns. I enjoyed, you get halfway through and it's almost as if that's the end, things are solved, but it's not so neatly wrapped up. and I really like that. It's not super gory coming from like a horror background, but I mean, the cold is always very terrifying to me, so I find it scary that way. And, having somebody, snake in the grass can be somewhat terrifying. So it is, you know, kind of a chilling story at that. No pun intended, considering it is called The Snowman. I think people might have expected more like Seven or Silence of the Lambs out of this, and it's a shame in a way because I, coming from reading his previous novel, had just wanted his version of a crime thriller where other people are steeped in the genre, I think, and compare it to much more lofty things where I wasn't really comparing it to anything. So I really enjoyed a lot of it and don't have a lot of expectations for the film because there is a lot to unpack here and a lot of characters. I think that sort of giant cast might get a little confusing to watch, but if you've been interested in series such as George Scott or The Killing, I think that this would have done well as a mini series that way. So who knows? Maybe there'll be something in the future like that. That'd be very cool. But I'll be satisfied with the film, I'm sure. It might be a little bit sleepy and cold and full of sweaters and snow, but I mean, this is the time of year for it because it is still wintertime, unfortunately. We steeped in that for a while. Unless you're watching this in the summer to cool down, feel free. But it is a really good, cozy read because nothing better than crime novels or really dark fiction to curl up with at night. I think this really fits the bill very well that way. It follows Inspector Harry Hole, who is a detective, and I do love the name Harry Hole. Who can't love that name? Considering the amount of sex that goes on in this book, and Headhunters wasn't far off that either. I don't normally like a lot of sex in a book. I find it really just distracting and boring, but they don't like dwell on it, so you're not getting full-fledged sex scenes, but it is very apparent that everyone is sleeping with everybody in this little town, or the other towns in Oslo and everywhere. One night, after the year's first snowfall, a boy named Jonas wakes up and discovers that his mother has disappeared. Only one trace of her remains, a pink scarf, his Christmas gift to her, now worn by the snowman that inexplicably appeared in their yard earlier that day. Inspector Harry Hole suspects a link between the missing woman and a suspicious letter he's received. The case deepens when a pattern emerges. Over the past decade, 11 women have vanished, all on the day of the first snow. But this is a killer who makes his own rules, and he'll break his pattern just to keep the game interesting as he draws Harry ever closer into his twisted web. So it's a lot of intrigue, and it's a race against time. One of those race against time things where, it's not the first snowfall in just this place. There's different places with different first snowfalls. I mean, we had a first snowfall up north at a very different time than we had a first snowfall down south. So they do have many first snowfalls to contend with. And it's not just one snowfall that precipitates these murders, which is kind of interesting when, you sort of think, you get to a point where you're like, well, the first snowfall's over. You have to wait till next year, I guess. But no, this killer's smarter than that, and artsier and craftier, because he makes nice little snowmen. Nice little creepy snowmen. You get a little spot of blood in the corner, just to let you know what you're in for. So yeah, The Snowman. Wonderful, dark winter read, highly recommended, super fun. I probably wouldn't cover something that I don't highly recommend. I mean, well, that remains to be seen. It might not be horror, but it is a typical book.